Emily Thompson had always been the dutiful daughter, carting her kids to soccer, keeping her marriage afloat, and showing up with coffee to help her parents pack up their old Victorian home. But that crisp October day, as she sifted through the attic's dusty relics, her mother's betrayal cut deeper than she could have imagined. She found it, a birth certificate with her name, listing her Aunt Elizabeth as her mother. 38 years of love, trust, and family dinners, all a lie. And there, standing at the attic hatch, her mother, Margaret, didn't even flinch.
"We did what was best for everyone, you'll see that someday."
Before Emily could find the words, before she could claw back her dignity, the attic hatch creaked open wider. Mark, her husband, climbed up, his broad shoulders tense, his glasses glinting in the golden light. He took one look at her crumpled form, then at Margaret's smug indifference, and stepped forward, voice low but firm.
"That's enough. She deserves the truth, now."
Welcome to Whisper's story, where the deepest secrets unravel the loudest lies. What happens when the people you trust most stab you in the back? And what comes next when the truth is finally demanded, but not yet delivered? Stick with us, because Emily's fight is just beginning, and you won't believe where it leads. Hit that subscribe button if you're ready to uncover the whispers that change everything. The leaves were turning a brilliant shade of crimson in Maplewood, a sleepy New England town where everyone knew your name and your business, or so Emily Thompson thought. At 38, she was juggling a chaotic life, 2 kids, a demanding job as a marketing consultant, and a marriage to Mark that felt more like a partnership than a romance these days. That crisp October Saturday, she'd driven the 20 minutes from her suburban split level to her parents' rambling Victorian, armed with coffee and good intentions. They were downsizing, and Emily had volunteered to tackle the attic, a treasure trove of her childhood she hadn't revisited in years. "Mom, look at this," Emily called, pulling a ratty teddy bear from a cardboard box. Its button eyes dangled by threads, but she could still feel the comfort it once brought her. She brushed dust off her jeans and grinned. Margaret, her mother, poked her head through the attic hatch, her graying hair tied back with a scarf. "Oh honey, you loved that thing. Dragged it everywhere." Her father, Robert, lumbered up behind, his flannel shirt dusted with cobwebs. "Stubborn as a mule about it, too. Remember when you insisted it sit at the dinner table?" Emily laughed, the sound echoing off the slanted beams. It was a good day, until she opened a box labeled Important Documents. Inside, amid tax returns and old deeds, was a yellowed envelope with her name scrawled in her mother's neat cursive. Curious, she slit it open and pulled out a birth certificate. Her birth certificate. But the mother's name wasn't Margaret Thompson, it was Elizabeth Carter. Aunt Elizabeth. Her mom's younger sister. Mom? Dad? Emily's voice cracked as she held up the paper. "What the hell is this?" Margaret's smile vanished. Robert froze, his hands halfway to a box of Christmas lights. "What did you find, Em?" Margaret asked, her tone too casual, like she was asking about the weather. "This says Aunt Elizabeth is my mother. Is this a typo? A joke?" Emily's pulse thudded in her ears. Margaret's face crumpled. Robert sighed, heavy and resigned. "Let's go downstairs," he said. "We need to talk." In the living room, surrounded by half-packed moving boxes and the faint scent of cinnamon from a candle, Emily's world tilted. Margaret twisted her hands in her lap. "When Elizabeth was 16, she got pregnant. You were that baby. Our parents, your grandparents, were old school. Strict. They decided it'd be best if Robert and I raised you. We'd just gotten married, and we wanted a family." Robert nodded. "We adopted you legally. You've always been ours, Emily. We didn't want you to feel different." Emily stared at them, her coffee cold in her hands. "Different? You lied to me my whole life. Aunt Elizabeth is my mother? And you didn't think I deserved to know?" "We thought we were protecting you," Margaret whispered, tears streaking her cheeks. Elizabeth agreed. "She was so young, Em. She wasn't ready." "Protecting me?" Emily shot to her feet, the birth certificate trembling in her grip. "You stole my truth. I've called her Auntie Liz for 38 years, and she's my mom." The silence was suffocating. Emily grabbed her coat and stormed out, the autumn air biting her face as she climbed into her SUV. Her parents' voices, pleading, apologetic, faded behind her. Driving home, she felt like a stranger in her own skin. Who was she if her entire life had been built on a lie? Have you ever uncovered a family secret that turned your world upside down? How did you start to piece yourself back together? Emily didn't sleep that night. She sat on her couch in the dim glow of a lamp, staring at the birth certificate like it might rewrite itself if she glared hard enough. Her kids, Sophie, 14, and Ethan, 11, were asleep upstairs, oblivious to the earthquake rattling their mother's life. Mark stumbled downstairs around midnight, rubbing his eyes under his glasses. "Babe, you okay?" he asked, voice thick with sleep. He plopped beside her, his t-shirt wrinkled from tossing in bed. "No," she said flatly, handing him the paper. "Read this." Mark scanned it, his brow furrowing. "Wait, Elizabeth? Your aunt? What's going on?" "They lied, Mark. Mom and Dad adopted me. Elizabeth's my real mom." Saying it out loud made it worse, sharp and real, like a splinter under a nail. Mark blinked, processing. "Jesus. That's heavy. Why didn't they tell you?" "They thought it was better this way." Emily's laugh was bitter. "Better for who? Them? Elizabeth? Not me." He wrapped an arm around her, pulling her close. "Hey, we'll figure this out. Together, okay?" But Emily didn't feel together. She felt like a puzzle with missing pieces, scattered across a table she didn't recognize. Sunday blurred by in a haze. She snapped at Sophie for leaving dishes in the sink, ignored Ethan's chatter about soccer, and dodged her mom's calls. By Monday, she was a zombie at work, her inbox piling up while she Googled adoption secrets on her phone. That evening, Mark tried again. Talk to me. You're shutting everyone out." "I don't know who I am anymore," she admitted, her voice small. "Every memory I have with Mom and Dad feels fake. And Elizabeth, she's been at every Thanksgiving, every birthday pretending. How do I even look at her?" Mark rubbed her back, helpless. "Maybe you should talk to her. Get her side." Emily nodded, but her stomach twisted. Confronting Elizabeth meant facing the woman who'd given her away, and the part of herself she'd never known. She scrolled through her contacts, hovering over Auntie Liz. Her finger trembled. She wasn't ready, not yet, but she couldn't keep living in this fog either. Upstairs, Sophie poked her head out of her room. "Mom, you're acting weird. Did I do something?" "No, Soph," Emily said, forcing a smile. "It's grown-up stuff. I'll be okay." But she wasn't sure she believed it. It's okay to feel lost when the ground shifts under you. Give yourself permission to sit with your emotions, anger, sadness, whatever, before you decide what's next. How do you cope when life throws you a curveball? The coffee shop was a cozy haven on the outskirts of Maplewood, its mismatched chairs and tables bathed in the warm glow of Edison bulbs. The scent of freshly ground coffee mingled with cinnamon, but it did little to ease the knot in Emily's stomach. She'd picked this spot for its neutrality, a place where the tangled threads of her family history might feel less suffocating. Her chai latte steamed in her hands as she waited, her fingers tapping nervously against the mug. Elizabeth, Auntie Liz as Emily had always known her, pushed through the door, her auburn hair catching the light, silver streaks glinting like threads of wisdom. At 54, she was still striking, her green eyes mirroring Emily's own. Their hug was stiff, a collision of familiarity and estrangement. "Thanks for meeting me," Emily said, her voice taut. "Of course," Elizabeth replied, settling into the chair across from her. "I've been waiting for this conversation for years." Emily inhaled deeply, steeling herself. "Why didn't you tell me? Why did you let me believe Margaret was my mother? Tears welled in Elizabeth's eyes. I was 16, a scared kid. Mom and Dad were so strict, they decided Margaret and Robert could give you a stable life. I didn't feel like I had a choice. But you did, Emily countered, her tone sharp. Later, when I was older, you could have told me the truth. Elizabeth shook her head, a tear slipping free. I wanted to, so many times. But I was terrified you'd hate me, or that it'd hurt Margaret and Robert. They love you so much, Emily. They are your parents. They are, Emily admitted, her throat tightening. But you're my mother too. I deserved to know. You're right, Elizabeth whispered. I was a coward. I've carried this guilt all these years, loving you from a distance, too afraid to step closer. The vulnerability in her voice cracked something in Emily. She reached out, her hand brushing Elizabeth's. Tell me about him. My father. Elizabeth's expression darkened. Jake was my high school boyfriend, charming, reckless. When I told him I was pregnant, he freaked. His family moved away that summer, and that was it. Emily's heart sank. He just left you? Elizabeth nodded. I had no one but Margaret and Robert. They stepped in when I couldn't. Rain pattered against the window, a soft counterpoint to the storm inside Emily. Anger warred with empathy as she looked at Elizabeth, seeing not just the aunt she'd known, but a young girl who'd been abandoned too. I don't know how to feel, Emily confessed. I want to scream, but I also want to understand. Elizabeth squeezed her hand. Take your time. I'm here, whatever you need. In the quiet that followed, Emily felt the first stirrings of possibility. Maybe understanding could be a path forward. If you were Emily, how would you process this bombshell? What would you need from Elizabeth to rebuild trust? Emily's home office was a snapshot of her life. Sophie's glitter-strewn art projects, Ethan's muddy soccer cleats, Mark's abandoned crossword puzzles. Amid the chaos, she sat at her desk, the laptop screen casting a blue glow on her face. The cursor blinked in the search bar, taunting her. She typed Jake Carter and hesitated, her finger hovering over the enter key. You sure about this? Mark asked, leaning against the doorway, his arms crossed. No, she admitted, glancing at him. But I need to know who he is. Mark nodded, his eyes warm with support. You don't have to do it alone. She managed a small smile. Thanks, babe. Then she pressed enter. The results poured in, news articles, a LinkedIn profile, a tech startup founder in California. Jake Carter, successful, polished, older now, but with a smile that tugged at something deep in Emily's chest. Then she saw the photo, Jake with his family. A wife, 2 kids, and a daughter. Lisa Carter, 34, a marketing exec in Boston. Emily's breath hitched. A half-sister. Her age. Mark, look, she said, pointing. He has a daughter. My sister. Mark let out a low whistle. That's big. You gonna reach out? I don't know, she murmured, chewing her lip. What if they don't want me? What if he denies it? What if they do? Mark countered gently. What if this is a chance to find something you've been missing? She leaned back, the chair creaking under her weight. She thought of her kids, of the bond she'd fight to keep. She thought of Elizabeth's regret, the years lost to secrets. I have to try, she decided. I need answers. That night, with the house quiet and the kids asleep, Emily drafted an email to Jake. Her fingers shook as she typed. Simple, direct, honest. She was Elizabeth's daughter, born in Maplewood, and she'd just learned the truth. She wanted to connect. Before doubt could stop her, she hit send, the sound slicing through the stillness. Now, she waited. Stepping into the unknown is scary, but it's often the only way to uncover the truth. What's one truth you've hesitated to chase, and what might happen if you took that first step? 2 days later, Emily's inbox pinged. Jake's reply was short. Emily, I was surprised to hear from you. I'm willing to meet. Let me know when you're free. Her pulse raced. He didn't deny it. Then, another email. Hi Emily. Dad told me about you. I had no idea I had a half-sister. I'd love to connect. I'm in Boston. Maybe we can meet. Lisa's warmth leaped off the screen, a stark contrast to Jake's caution. Emily replied to Lisa first, her fingers steadier now. Hi Lisa, I'd love to meet. I'm in Maplewood, Boston's not far. Let me know what works. To Jake she wrote, thanks for responding. I'll be in LA next month for work. Can we meet then? Plans fell into place. Lunch with Jake in LA, dinner with Lisa in Boston a week later. As the dates neared, Emily's nerves buzzed. Over coffee with her best friend Jenna, she spilled her fears. What if Jake rejects me? She asked, stirring her latte. Then he's the one missing out, Jenna said firmly. You deserve your story, Em. And Lisa sounds like a bonus. Emily nodded, bolstered by Jenna's confidence. I just hope I'm ready for whatever happens. You are, Jenna assured her. You're tougher than you know. The night before her LA trip, Emily lay awake beside a snoring Mark, her mind spinning. She pictured Jake's face, wondered if she'd see herself in him, if he'd offer regret or indifference. Sleep eluded her, but resolve took root. If you were meeting a long-lost relative, what would you hope to gain? How would you brace yourself for the emotions? LA buzzed with energy, honking cars, blinding sun, a far cry from Maplewood's quiet charm. Emily's conference kept her busy, but her thoughts were fixed on lunch with Jake. They met at a chic bistro, all glass and steel, where Jake waited at a corner table, his posture stiff. Emily. He stood, offering a handshake. It was cool, formal. Hi, she said, matching his tone. They sat, silence stretching between them. She studied him, her cheekbones, her jawline staring back at her. It was surreal. So, Jake started, clearing his throat. This is unexpected. Yeah, she agreed. I only just found out about you. He nodded, his face a mask. I was young, Emily. Elizabeth and I were kids. I didn't know how to deal with it. Did you ever think about me? Her voice was soft, vulnerable. He looked out the window. Sometimes. But I built a new life. It was easier to move on. Her chest tightened. Easier for you. Not for me. I'm sorry, he said, his tone flat. I don't know what else to say. The meal dragged on, awkward and stilted. Jake asked about her kids, her job, but it felt hollow. When they parted, he paused. If you need anything, reach out. But I think this is where we leave it. Emily forced a smile. Take care, Jake. A week later, Boston welcomed her with vibrant fall leaves and a crisp breeze. Lisa had picked a cozy pub in the North End, its wood-paneled walls exuding warmth. She waved Emily over, her smile bright and genuine. Emily. Lisa pulled her into a hug. Finally. You too, Emily said, laughing at the enthusiasm. Over pasta and wine, they clicked instantly. Shared quirks, shared laughter. Lisa was a lifeline in the wake of Jake's detachment, a sister Emily hadn't known she needed. Let's do this again, Lisa said as they parted. Soon. Definitely, Emily replied, her heart lighter. Family isn't just blood, it's the connections that lift us up. Where have you found unexpected family, and how have they shaped you? Maplewood's trees stood bare, the air sharp with winter's approach. Emily's relationship with Margaret and Robert teetered, tense, fragile. When Margaret invited them for Sunday dinner, Emily agreed for the kids' sake. The meal was quiet, strained. Robert's football chatter fell flat, and Emily's responses were clipped. After dessert, as Sophie and Ethan played, Margaret cornered her in the kitchen. We need to talk, Em. This distance, it's killing us. Emily sighed. I know, Mom. I just don't know how to get past it. Margaret's eyes shimmered. We love you. We never meant to hurt you. I get that, Emily softened. But it still feels like a lie. Robert joined them. It wasn't a lie. We raised you, loved you. That's real. Tears stung Emily's eyes. I'm grateful. I just need time. Margaret took her hand. We're here, always. That night, Sophie's question caught Emily off guard. Mom, why are you mad at Grandma and Grandpa? Emily faltered. What do you mean? I heard about Aunt Elizabeth being your real mom. Sighing, Emily sat on Sophie's bed. Grandma and Grandpa raised me, sweetie. They're my parents. But Elizabeth is too, in a way. Family's complicated. So she's my grandma too? Sophie asked. Kind of, Emily smiled. It's about love, not just titles. As Sophie drifted off, Emily knew her healing was for her kids too. How do you explain family complexities to your kids? What values do you want them to take from it? One morning, a headline stopped Emily cold. Tech mogul Jake Carter indicted on embezzlement charges. Her stomach churned. Jake's empire was crumbling under fraud allegations, his detachment now cast in a darker light. She called Lisa. You saw it? Yeah, Lisa sighed. It's ugly. Dad's in denial, but I'm glad I have you now. Same, Emily said, their bond a bright spot in the mess. At home, another shock awaited. Mark had been distant, and one night, she pressed him. What's wrong? He rubbed his face. I got laid off last week. Didn't want to worry you. Mark, we're a team, she said, taking his hand. We handle it together. Relief washed over him. I'm sorry. We'll figure it out, she promised. Jake's fall and Mark's struggle underscored one truth. Family thrived on support, not secrets. Challenges can break us or bind us. How do you and your partner stay strong together? Thanksgiving brought a chance to mend fences. Emily hosted, the table groaning with turkey and pie, Margaret, Robert, and Elizabeth all there. Laughter from Sophie and Ethan filled the air, a tentative peace settling in. After, Emily pulled Margaret aside. Mom, I'm sorry for pulling away. I know you did your best. Margaret hugged her. We just want you in our lives. With Elizabeth, Emily sought a fresh start, rooted in honesty. In therapy, she redefined family. It's the people who choose you through the mess. Her therapist smiled. You've got a lot of family then. Emily knew it was true, imperfect, sprawling hers. How has your view of family changed? What does it mean to you now, and how do you nurture it? Around the backyard fire pit, Emily gathered her family. Marshmallows sizzled, Mark strummed his guitar. She took a breath. Guys, I want to talk. Sophie and Ethan paused. Mark set his guitar down. You know about Aunt Elizabeth being my biological mom, she said. Grandma and Grandpa adopted me. But family's more than blood, it's love, support. That's all of you, and Lisa too. Lisa's my aunt? Ethan asked. Sort of, Emily chuckled. It's about who's there for us. Sophie frowned. Are we not normal? Normal's overrated, Emily said. We're us, and that's enough. As the fire crackled, Emily felt whole. Her story, once fractured, was hers to claim. Own your story, share it, let it show your strength. What part of yours are you ready to embrace? And so, Emily learned that family isn't just about blood. It's about the people who choose to stand by you, even when the truth is messy. It's a lesson we can all take to heart, that sometimes, the whispers we fear most are the ones that set us free. But here's the thing. Emily's journey doesn't end here. In fact, it's just the beginning. If Emily's story resonated with you, remember that Whisper's story is all about uncovering the hidden truths that shape our lives. From family secrets to personal revelations, we bring you stories that make you think, feel, and maybe even question what you thought you knew. And we're just getting started. So, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Join us as we continue to explore the whispers that change everything, because you never know what story might be waiting for you next. And if Emily's journey made you reflect on your own life, drop a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes, the loudest truths start as the quietest whispers.